G'day shooters, today we turn this into this. Stay tuned. G'day shooters, Rick from Canadian Rimfire Precision Series. So today we have the build. So this is the build based around the Grey Birch Solutions milled 1022 receiver. So again, Grey Birch donated these to us as part of their sponsorship for CRPS and Project Mapleseed. So we did an unboxing, and we also covered some of the information around Grey Birch Solutions. It's a Canadian company out of Ontario, Canada, that is making 3 different kinds of 1022 receivers. They've got a 0 MOA, they've got a red dot ready, which is basically a milled flat top with plate ready, and a long distance version with 20 MOA built into the rail directly from the mill. So this is the heart of it. So we have that's called the Classic. This is the Shrike receiver from Grey Birch Solutions, and we also have their 16.5 or 16.1 inch carbon fiber wrapped barrel. So why would you go carbon fiber wrapped? First thing is if you're swapping from a stock barrel, which this is, so this is our donor. So in order to do this build, we need a donor. You can see that it has no internals. It's got no bolt. It's got no. It doesn't even have the V-block, so we'll have to take the V-block from this receiver and all the internals, along with a trigger pack, and install it into here. If I was upgrading this this barrel to an equivalent length, 16.1 inch solid, it would be a lot heavier. What you get out of wrapping the barrel is rigidity, better harmonics, and also lighter weight for thickness. So if this was solid steel, it'd be a lot heavier, maybe 30%, 40%, I'm not sure, but it's going to be heavier. So what we'll do is I have a 16-inch solid steel barrel that will weigh once the receiver's built, so we can compare kind of what the weight difference is. So that is what we're going to do. So follow along as I tear this apart, and we'll go through the process of installing those components into that receiver. So this rifle is actually one of the loaner rifles that we have for Project Mapleseed, stock 1022, donated by Ruger and Korth Group out of Alberta. Great friends and supporters of both organizations, so thanks to the folks there. This rifle's probably had 60 to 80,000 rounds, and it's proved flawless. There are a couple of normal wear items. Extractor's probably the biggest wear item. So what we'll do is we'll push the buffer pin out. We'll pull the trigger pack pins out, and once you remove that buffer pin, that gives you enough access for the bolt to travel back, that when you bring it back, it'll actually lift up and fall out. And then the next thing is to remove the bolt handle and the spring. Now we've got to remove the V-block, as I said, because it doesn't come with yours. That wasn't very tight. And a lot of 1022s, I hear people slamming the 1022, but we've had just minimal normal wear-related items over the years, and they've been more than accurate. I think most people will trash talk the 1022 because they haven't taken the time to find out what ammo runs best in their particular rifle, and that is an important step. Just like you do hand loads for a precision rifle, you have hundreds of ammo to choose from in terms of rimfire, and there might be one that works better. Just off the shelf, you know, we start with the CCI Blazer as the cheapest option. Bucket of bullets would work. Winchester white box. Again, try them all out. See what is the cheapest one that gives you the accuracy you're looking for. Basically, looking for you know, 1/2 inch, 1 inch groups at 25 meters is all you need for Mapleseed. This particular rifle groups probably 3/8 at 25. So it's more than capable and has been a very accurate rifle. So now that we've stripped this completely down, we don't need to remove the barrel. We've got all the parts we need, so I'll put this aside. I'm not going to upgrade the extractor because I just recently did that, so I know that that extractor is good. We actually use the Taxol X-ring extractors. The other mod that we typically do while we're here is the auto bolt. So one of the most frustrating things about 1022 for new users is locking the bolt back and then releasing that bolt with this very painful small little lever that you push down as you push back. Modifying this part from a V to a rounded top allows you to just pull back on the bolt and release it without having to play around with that. It is just as safe. There's no risk of any accidental discharges. It really just facilitates the release of that bolt. So that's it. So we've got our parts. We've got our receiver. We've got our barrel. So why don't we install that barrel first? So you can see that there's a dovetail cut into the barrel, and you've got this what they call the V block that basically indexes that barrel. But you can see that there is some play. So you still have to align it as best you can and snug it down using that V block. So you can have it cockeyed. What that does is you've got an extractor notch milled into the shoulder, the barrel. So you've got to make sure that's aligned, otherwise you're not going to get proper alignment, right? So you can have it cockeyed, that extractor to come in contact with that shoulder. So just pay attention to that. Okay, you can tell when it seats because it stops moving and it feels quote unquote right. So somewhere around there feels good to me. Put that bolt in, put the other bolt in, then we'll just spin them down. I'll just fast forward to this piece so you don't have to endure me snugging down bolts. We'll come back when it's time to torque it down. So now it's time to torque it down. Typically I'll go 45 inch-pounds on that bolt there. I don't think it needs to be stronger than that, but again, usually the bigger the bolt, the more torque it'll need. So these are my fix-it sticks. I don't know if I've talked about these before. I also have the Wheeler fat wrench, which basically you have to turn it in and out to get the right torque setting. And if you're doing a lot of rifles, like I discovered myself doing, it becomes a massive pain to always be doing and undoing. For the average home guy, that's more than enough if you're not doing, lots of different parts every day. But I just found it frustrating. So fix-it stick, just digress for a moment. Basically, you can get a kit whatever size you want. That comes in smaller packs, but you've got a 45 inch-pound, you've got a 25 inch-pound, or a 15 inch-pound, and a 25, and a 65 already pre-calibrated. So you just grab the one you need, and it'll slip when you get to the right torque setting. So that's a big time saver. So you can have those different bits pre-set up. So typically the 15 inch-pounds is what we use for scope rings, and 25 for bases to rails, and then 45 for the action bolts. So saves time. Here we go. Okay, so that is our V block installed. I'll just slide the bolt in just to compare. Looks like I'm a little off by a 16th. It's got a 16th rotation out that way. can feel that the extractor is just rubbing a little bit on it. So I'll just loosen this up, re-index it. And that should take care of that. Perfect. All right, so we're all set. So I need to take the bolt back out because I got to put the bolt handle in. I'll just give it a little rub down first. Just a little lubrication on that spring. Just a light coating. It's more for rust protection than anything. Good. So there's a shoulder with a notch cut out that this will rest on. Easiest way I found is you'll take your index finger, hold the bolt back, pull the bolt handle back at maximum rearward travel, drop the bolt in, and as you release, it should fall into place. Oops. Take that back out. It's got to be aligned. Far enough back. There we go. Okay, there we go. Probably should lube that up. Now you get to see me take apart the bolt again. Okay. Typically you look for the shiny parts, usually on the sides. Heels, this is where the hammer will ride. That's about it. Spread around. I'll do it again. So pull back with your index finger, all the way back. Hold it there with your, hold it there. Drop the bolt in. And as you release, it will follow the notch, and then you're good to go. Okay. Now we'll install the trigger pack, and just make sure that the ejector is seated in the notch. Typically best to do it vertically, and then the pins will go in. If it's a little tight one way, try it another way. Just gotta make sure it's aligned. Your pins may be looser or tighter. Depends on how old your machine is. And then install the buffer pin. Okay, there we go. So that is our 1022 receiver swapped into our Shrike Classic receiver, 0 MOA top, with the 16.1 inch carbon fiber wrapped barrel. So the next part is chassis. You don't want to put it back into here because you can see that it's a synthetic stock and there's flex. As I twist it, I can feel it, right? I also don't know how well it fits. Plastic is known to expand in the heat and shrink in the cold. So you've got variations and variances as it heats up during your shooting cycle. So this is not what we need for precision shooting. What we have out there are amazing sponsors like MDT, who donated an Oryx chassis for us to use at CRPS, and also as part of our loaner rifle for maple seed. So I will move this to the side so we can take a look at the Oryx chassis. So why a chassis? So the first thing you'll notice, I'd like to call attention to, is adjustable cheek rest and adjustable length of pull. The 90% of the rifles you buy off the shelf don't fit you. When you mount the scope, whatever how high the rings are, you'll need to adjust it for perfect cheek weld. So being able to adjust your cheek rest height is important so that you have 100% of your weight on that cheek rest with every shot, so it's giving you more consistency. Length of pull, you can add or remove spacers to make this shorter or longer so you've got a consistent reach to the trigger. And then what you'll notice is it's a solid machined piece of aluminum from front all the way to the back with a straight line of force going straight back in, so you get a more consistent recoil return response. Also, you notice that there's some nylon rods here, as well as an adjustable bolt in the back to tighten up that receiver to chassis fit so that there's minimal slop in there. And then you've also got slots that you can attach a rail to, which we will do for Arca rail, so that we can attach our various bipods and bags and other attachments that we may want to add in there. Okay, so that's the beautiful looking Oryx chassis. So let me get the bolt and the washer, and then we'll get this thing set up. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to weigh what this finished assembly weighs, so we know we can compare that to the 16.1 inch solid steel rifle that I've got. Okay, so this one is 2 pounds 11.8 ounces, or 1.25, 1.25 kilograms. So I'm just going to write that down. Bear with me, folks. .25 kg. So it's 1.25 kilo. It's nice. Okay, let me move this out of the way. Let me get our Oryx chassis. Typically it goes in the back first. All right. Install the bolt. Torque it down to 45. I don't typically put any Loctite. I've never had an action bolt come off. I don't know if you heard those clicks. That's the Fix-It Sticks letting me know that it's done. So that is the Oryx chassis with the Shrike CLR receiver mounted. It looks nice, perfect. The stick out is just right. Beautiful. Centered in the slot. Looks good. So the next part is installing the scope. Going through the process of adjusting the cheek rest and length of pull. So we'll have a separate video on installing the scope, getting this dialed in terms of fit for me, and then we'll take you to the range and see how she shoots. So thanks for following along with us. Thanks to Grey Birch Solutions, to Ruger in Cork, Canada, and MDT for their Oryx chassis. Stay tuned for that next optics and fit build. So until then, stay safe, and I hope to see you guys on the fire line. Take it easy.